Hi guys, what is going on and welcome to today's YouTube video. In today's video we are going to discuss the current weekly outlook on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I'm going to be providing you guys with one very interesting altcoin that is still looking primed for higher targets, and I will be providing you guys with a beautiful trade setup on that specific altcoin next to the trading ideas that I will be providing you guys with on Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's dive into it. What we can see on Bitcoin is that it's exactly following the plan that I've been discussing over the past few weeks. It is still range bound and it is currently testing the mid-range area, and it is sweeping the liquidity that I was aligning around the mid-range. That is definitely something to notice. Now if I quickly remove the current long trade that we are holding, I can also see that on the lower time frame, if we go to the 1 hourly time frame, that there's something interesting going on. Because when we look at this local price action over here that is currently being formed around the mid-range, what can we see? We can see that the price of Bitcoin is forming a fake break of structure over here, and that the price action of Bitcoin is forming a fake break of structure over here. Now we know that these fake break of structures, they are inducing people into opening up breakout long positions over here, into opening up breakout long positions inside of this consolidation area over here. Now where are these people going to put their stop loss? They are going to put their stop loss over here beneath this low and over here beneath this low. This is where is currently the sell-side liquidity resting for Bitcoin. Now that means that in order to even be interested in looking for longs on Bitcoin, since the higher time frame trend is up on the weekly, daily and 4 hourly time frame, I want these lows to get taken out. Now what is interesting over here, and this is where you have to start paying attention for Bitcoin, is that beneath the low over here, guys, is where we have a beautiful breaker block. We can see that the price of Bitcoin was forming supply over here. Now the supply was providing resistance once and twice, and the third time we broke through that massive supply area. We did not only break through that massive supply area, we also broke through it with a huge displacement over here on the 4 hourly time frame. Look at this displacement candle that we formed over here, right? The beautiful bullish fair value gap that aligns with a bullish breaker block, giving us a high probability POI for a potential long position. So if I'm going to mark out this sell-side liquidity over here, and I've marked out this hour 4 fair value gap, we can see that the fair value gap exactly aligns with a previous supply, and we know that once we break through previous supply, it should technically be turning into demand, and that is what we call a breaker block. This is definitely my area of interest, because what we can see is that Bitcoin has potentially formed its first wave, second wave, is currently inside of a third wave, which this might be a sub-minion wave 1, and the wave 1 once again consists out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we might form wave 2, the sub-minion wave 2 of the bigger wave 3. Now that wave 2, we know that wave 2 usually retraces back towards 0.5 or lower. We're going to go from swing low to swing high, and we switch on our Fibonacci retracement levels and we remove the 0.236 and the 0.382. What can we see? The 0.5 and the golden Fibonacci ratio over here, they are both aligning with a breaker block, with a quality level, and within that bullish hour 4 fair value gap. This is definitely a POI for me currently, where I'm interested in looking to add to the current long position that we have been building near the range low area. What is very interesting about this POI, guys, and this is definitely something not to underestimate, is that if we switch on the EMAs on the 4 hourly time frame, we can see that the entire hour 4 EMA clusters, which is by far the most important EMA cluster, so the 100 EMA, the 200 EMA, and the 200 moving average on the 4 hourly time frame, they are exactly aligning with our POI as well over here. Which means that if we are going to sweep the sell-side liquidity, we are going to tap into a high time frame breaker block, we are going to tap into a high time frame EMA cluster, we are going to tap into a high time frame displacement on the 4 hourly time frame, and this might be the perfect POI to potentially build a brand new long position. Now what could be invalidation for the long position? It's this low over here. It's a local bullish liquidity sweep that happened near the range low, and that swept the low over here of that also perfect retest. This is also the end of the bigger wave 2. Now preferably we do not obviously want to fall beneath the end of wave 2 in order to keep that impulsive structure towards the upside. So let's say we start looking for longs around the EMA cluster inside of the breaker. We have ourselves a pretty invalidation, and we have ourselves a pretty target, which is a new all-time high, and that offers a nice brand new RR trade of 2.4, which will potentially compound our current long position into even more profits, because we can obviously tighten the stop loss of our original position from this local low to this local low, which means that our risk will decrease from about 1% over here to about 0.1% over here, which means that within this compounding position we can add another 0.9% risk and target a range high liquidity pool, which is a brand new all-time high for Bitcoin. Now guys, you have to realize that there's also the probability that Bitcoin is simply going to continue in a low time frame range over here and start the next expansion phase from off there. But you also have to realize that as a trader, we are only willing to trade the highest probability trade setups possible. In my opinion, the setup that I've just provided you guys with, the idea that I've just provided you guys with, is definitely the highest probability trade setup out there right now. If Bitcoin is going to consolidate over here and expand higher from there, I'm totally fine with it. Why? I'm not even looking to trade Bitcoin right now. My focus is on trading altcoins, because I still believe that altcoins will outperform over the upcoming period. This is just an idea that I'm giving you guys, that I'm using for myself to determine my bias with. Alright, so keep that in mind, and let's move over to Ethereum. Now on Ethereum, you can see that also on the Twitch live stream on Thursday I provided you guys with a perfect long setup. It is completely irrelevant, guys. Let's start looking at a brand new setup, because what I think is interesting about Ethereum is that we are forming a beautiful falling wedge pattern, as you guys can see, right? And if we remove all of the drawings from the chart and we try to find the falling wedge over here, we can see that this falling wedge on the higher time frame has currently been breaking out after mitigating the POI over here that I provided you guys with on the Twitch live stream. Now what is more interesting over here is this breakout of this falling wedge. Why? Because guys, I've told you guys, this is a valid falling wedge. When we look at the volume of the falling wedge, and that is where things always get interesting, because for a falling wedge you first need 5 pivots of trend lines. So either 3 at the top of the trend line and 2 at the bottom, or 2 touches at the top trend line and 3 at the bottom. Now what we can see over here is that we have so many touches, so the trend lines are definitely confirmed. And what I like about these trend lines is that we have a small deviation below the trend line and a small deviation above the trend line. And that is very, very clean in my opinion when we look at trend lines. Now what is more important though when we look at falling and rising wedges, in order for a falling or rising wedge to be valid, the volume while the wedge is forming needs to drop lower and lower and lower. And look at the volume, guys. It is dropping lower and lower and lower. Try to ignore small spikes like this. Look at the general and average volume. That one needs to drop lower and lower and lower while the wedge is being formed. And that is exactly what was happening on Ethereum. So I think we are looking at a potential valid and confirmed breakout, because we opened and closed many candles above, also on the daily time frame. Now, what could be potential interesting play is a potential retest of the trend line. Why? Because with that retest of the trend line, also if we apply the range over here for Ethereum, so we have a range over here for Ethereum, what can we see? We can see that if we are going to retest the trend line, we have a beautiful quarterly level over here that aligns with the retest. But I think there's something even more interesting, because if I quickly remove all of the drawings, I'm going to show you guys something pretty interesting, pretty educational. What we can see over here is that we have this breaker block, right? We have this supply that was holding as resistance over here, right? But the thing is, with that breaker block where we are currently bouncing from, we do not have a bullish fair value gap aligning like we had on Bitcoin, right? So with Bitcoin we had a bullish fair value gap on the 4-hourly time frame that was aligning with that bullish breaker block. But on Ethereum we do not have that right now. But what we do have on Ethereum is beneath that breaker block is where we have a bullish hour 4 fair value gap. Look at the fair value gap that I'm marking out over here. It's a bullish one, right? But what is more interesting about this bullish fair value gap is that inside of the bullish fair value gap is where we have this previous bearish fair value gap, which I'm going to mark out in yellow. This hour 4 inversion exactly aligns with that hour 4 bullish fair value gap. And now this might be an area that Ethereum is potentially willing to fill, to rebalance before further upside. Alright, so that is definitely an area that I'm marking out. Why? Because it also perfectly aligns with that quarterly level of the current range that we are looking at. Also, if we switch on the volume profile, that is interesting to have a look at as well. And when we look at the volume profile, we can see that the value area low also approximately aligns with that area. It's definitely an area that I'm willing to potentially look for longs on. If I'm quickly going to switch on the EMAs, should be interesting as well. We are currently retesting these EMAs as support. So once again, same for Bitcoin, guys. Like I said on Bitcoin, it is possible for Ethereum to not rebalance this area and instead form a low time frame range over here, maybe get a bit of a sweep and continue higher from there. My bias currently remains bullish on Ethereum, on Bitcoin, but especially on altcoins. Am I looking to trade Ethereum? No, I am not. My focus remains on trading altcoins, but it is always interesting and important to figure out a bias and ideas for Bitcoin and Ethereum before you move over into trading altcoins. Now for Ethereum, I think many people are looking to long the top of the breaker over here and are looking to put their stop loss somewhere inside of this imbalance or beneath a low over here. Is that a valid setup? Yes, it is support, right? But the highest probability setup, in my opinion, is the rebalance of this area and then a continuation higher for Ethereum, okay? I think the chart of Ethereum right now is not too clean. Is there a reason for that? Yeah, I think so, because this week, guys, do not forget that we get the ETF decision on Ethereum. Now that might cause some volatility, it might cause some fake moves. Usually I always tell you guys, I don't let news events influence my bias. It is already on the chart. I still believe that also right now for Ethereum, it is already on the chart and that I am bullish. But you have to realize that we might get a small flash crash during the ETF decision release. Why? Because the ETF is such a huge news event, like we have seen on Bitcoin as well, that in this case it might slightly change the price action first on a lower time frame before continuing the higher time frame clean price action. Alright, and that is something to not underestimate on Ethereum. And it is confirming my thesis on not trading Bitcoin and not trading Ethereum and instead looking for longs on altcoins. And right now I'm going to provide you guys with a beautiful long setup on RNDR. I've been talking about this one for a while now, and right now it is forming a little bit of a consolidation phase, and I've taught you guys inside of these consolidation phases, after such an impulsive move towards the upside, you never ever want to get involved. What you want to do is identify where the liquidity is resting, and in this case, this is where the liquidity is resting. We are always interested in longs once people get wrecked. Now, why is there currently liquidity resting over here? It is because of this fake break of structure over here. People identify this break of structure over here as a valid one, but we know it's not a valid one. Why? Because this high over here did not bring us to a new low compared to this low that brought us to that high, so it's not a significant high to break. Guys, this is not a higher low. It's only 2 red candles. In order to get a valid higher low or lower high, you either need 3 red candles for a valid higher low or 3 green candles for a valid lower high. Now currently, that means that people open up long positions over here or on the pullback because of the fake break of structure, and they either use this low to cover their stop or this low. Now obviously the lowest low makes no sense at all to use in order to cover a stop loss. Why? Because if you open up a long position over here and you use this low over here to cover your stop, it's not worth the RR, because the first target will be a new all-time high, and look at the RR, it's only 0.67. If I use this low to cover my stop, it's already an RR of 1.75, and that might be worth it. So that means that we have liquidity resting right over here beneath that low, which means that right beneath that low, that's where I'm slowly starting to become interested in looking for longs on RNDR. Why is RNDR so clean? Look at the sweep of this low, and that offers a perfect retest of this range low that we have formed over here. 1 pivot, 2 pivot, 3 pivots, and we have our 4th pivot over here. The perfect retest of the range low leads to a valid break of structure. This was a significant high to break. Why was this a significant high to break over here and therefore a valid break of structure? Because the high over here did indeed bring us to a new lower low compared to this low that brought us to that high, giving us a trigger to look for longs, because we know that after a smaller deviation and a bigger deviation of the range low, we should go for the unmitigated liquidity pool around the range high, and that remains my target for RNDR, which means that if we are going to sweep this low and right beneath that low, our first POI might be this breaker over here for RNDR, if we are going to sweep that low into this breaker over here, I'm going to be looking for longs on RNDR. I have my POI, I have my invalidation, and I have my first target, and that offers a beautiful RR of approximately 2, which is exactly what you want to have when you look at a beautiful swing trade. You can also play this with spot, and if we're going to drop lower, guys, then we have this daily demand area over here. This daily demand candle over here swept liquidity while the demand candle was being formed. It has a bullish fair value gap over here aligning right above the demand area, and the top of the demand candle is a beautiful POI for a potential second entry. And the second entry in that case might look something like this over here. Stop loss beneath that low, beneath our invalidation, same target, which is a new all-time high, and that offers a beautiful RR of 5.31. Now when we also look at the EMA confluence on this one, we can see that on the 4-hourly time frame we have the 200 moving average exactly aligning with our POI, and that is some nice confluence. In that case, we might start a small deviation over here beneath our 4 EMA cluster, deviate beneath it, reclaim it, test them as support, and then pump it higher. That is always a way that I really like to use the EMAs as potential deviations. Guys, but look at the EMA confluence on the daily. Daily 100 EMA, beautiful confluence, deviation beneath the 100 EMA, retest it as support, pump it higher. 200 EMA on the daily time frame has not been tested since October 2023, and the 200 EMA on the daily time frame is the strongest EMA out there on altcoins, which means that if this one is going to align slightly higher over here with our second POI and we are going to retest it, I'm 90% sure that it's going to be providing us with a pretty solid bounce, which is why RNDR currently, in my opinion, if Bitcoin, Ethereum and altcoins are going to be providing us with a flash crash, maybe because of the ETF decision on Ethereum, I think RNDR is the altcoin that you have to look at in order to scoop up either some spot or a swing long position on RNDR. Now if you guys did enjoy today's YouTube video and today's weekly outlook, make sure to smash up the like button, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll catch you guys on Wednesday's video. Ciao, ciao!